is test 8, section 3. I got started here. Which of the following numbers is between 1/5 and 1/4? Just use your calculator, turn them into decimal points, compare them, and you will see that you get 0.2, 0.25, 0.21 is in the middle, so the answer is D. Number 2, which of the following are coordinates of points in the xy plane? Which of these points is nearest to the origin? Well, the origin is right there. That's what they talk about when they talk about the origin. It's the point 0, 0. So 0, 0 is the origin. Which one is going to be the closest? Well, it's going to be the one that's closest to 0. 0 is closest to 0, and 1/2 is closest to 0. So these two coordinates are the closest. Wow, 1/2, 1/2 is not closer because it's farther away from 0 than 0 is. Okay, next page. All right, in the figure above, if AB is a line, so here's a line right here, AB, what is the value of y? Well, if it's a line, it means that all of these angles have to add up to 180 degrees. How many angles are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you would say 5x equals 180 degrees. And you would get, if you divide by 5, you get x equals 36. So the reason we do that is because now we know that this one is 36 and this one is 36. And if AB is a line, then we know that on this side it also equals 180 degrees. So we're going to take 180 degrees and we're going to subtract our two 36's, which is 72, and we get 108. You don't need the degrees because there's not degrees in the answers here. All right, let's slide down. Hit the next one. Okay, this is a pure algebra problem. You just solve it algebraically by distributing the 65 through. So you get 6,565 equals 65x plus 65. Subtract 65 from both sides. And we get 6,500 equals 65x. Divide both sides by 65, doing a little longer algebra than normal. The 65's are going to cross out. We get 1 there, so we get 100 is our answer. Just use your calculator for that. Okay, up here, this is an exponent problem. They're testing your understanding of when you add exponents and when you multiply them. When the bases are the same, we add our exponents. So we're going to add these two, and it's going to equal 28. So we would say x plus 7 equals 28. We're going to solve it for x, so we get x equals 21. They want to know the value of x plus y, so we need to find y. Now this is a power to a power, so we multiply our exponents. And when we do that, it has to equal the other side. So we're going to say m to the 5y equals m to the 15th. And now, since the bases are the same, we're going to set them equal. So you get 5y equals 15, and you get y equals 3. Some of these you actually do need to know algebra for. Like number 3 here, number 4, and number 5, you kind of needed algebra. Let me see if the other one was if you could have substituted in for that one. This one, yeah, you could have substituted in. If you don't know how to solve an equation, you could have put the numbers in for x and figured it out. All right, this graphy thing. According to the graph above, which of the following is closest to the decrease per year in the number of homes sold between 1987 and 1999? Well, you have to track across here. You know, just try to track across try not to go downhill or anything. So we're going to track across. It's harder for me on this little thing here. So over here we're going to get 156,000. They're counting by twos, 2, 4, 6, so it's 156,000. All right, that's the year. We're going from 87 to 90. So we're going to track across this one, and it's going to be at 112,000. Make sure you track across accurately. Now we're going to find the decrease. So we're going to subtract this number from 156,000. So we get 156,000. You just put this in your calculator, 112,000. And so we get 44,000. Now you'll see that's not over there because they're asking decrease per year. So we're going to divide this by how many years. Now you have to count the years. You don't go 1, 2, 3, 4. You don't count them that way. You count, this is 1 year, this is 2 years. Be careful of that. And this is 3 years. So it's going to be divided by 3. They have it probably, if you divide it by 4, they have the wrong answer choice for you there. So you're going to get 14,660. And that's closest to 14,000. All right, next page. If 10 over A equals B over 12, whoops, did I skip a page? Oh, I skipped a page. Hold on a second. I was like, boy, we got to the easy problems again without doing any hard ones. Okay, here we go. We did this one in class before. We have in the figure AE and CD are perpendicular to CE if x equals y and the length of AB is 4 and the length of BD is 8. What is the length of CE? So we need to find this and we need to find this and add them together. These are the same. If they're the same, then we know a triangle is 180 degrees. We subtract off the 90, so we're going to get 90 left over from 180, and we have to split them between these two angles. So we're talking here a 45, 45, 90 triangle. They have special properties that we talked about in the second week of class. So if you have a 45, 45, 90 degree triangle, all right, the sides would be x, and the hypotenuse is x times the square root of 2. So if you know the sides, you can find the hypotenuse by multiplying by the square root of 2. If you know the hypotenuse, you can find the sides by dividing by the square root of 2. So I can find this side by just taking 4 and dividing it by the square root of 2, like that. And those are the sides. We don't really care about this bottom side. Okay, since this is 45, these are going to be vertical angles, so this is going to be 45, which means this has to be 45. So we have another 45, 45, 90 triangle. So this is going to be 8 over the square root of 2. And we don't need to really know that. It's 8 over the square root of 2. Now you're going to add these together. You can either turn them into decimals and add them that way, and you're going to get 8.49, or you can rationalize. So we get, let me just slide this down. So we have 4 over the square root of 2. I'm going to rationalize that, square root of 2, like such. And we get 4 over 2, 4 square root of 2 over 2. Whoops, need that line again, over 2. So we're going to get 2 square root of 2. And then we do the same thing with 6 square root of 2. Do the same thing, and we're going to get, well, let me just do that. Square root of 2, square root of 2. So we're going to get 6 square root of 2 over 2. Oops, it was 8. It was actually 8. And we get 4 square root of 2. Add those together, and we get 6 square root of 2. And that, again, would be here. Let's look at the picture real quick. See, we're adding this one, and that's how we get 6 square root of 2. Okay, the price of ground coffee beans is $D for 8 ounces, and each ounce makes C cups of brewed coffee. In terms of C and D, what is the dollar cost of the ground coffee beans required to make 1 cup of brewed coffee? Okay, the price of coffee is $D for 8 ounces. So I'm just going to make up a number. I'm going to say it's going to be $10 for 8 ounces. 8 ounces. All right. Each ounce makes C cups of coffee. So if we have, let's just say each ounce makes 2 cups of coffee. So I'm going to multiply it by 2, and we're going to see how many cups it makes. So each ounce makes 2 cups of coffee. So we're going to make 8 ounces is going to make 16 cups of coffee, right? All right, this one's a little hard for me to explain. So it's going to make 8 ounces is going to make 16 cups of coffee. So how much does 16 cups of coffee cost? Well, it costs $10. So it's $10 for 16 cups of coffee. I mean, right away I'm looking here and I can see it's this one. This is the dollar on the top, and this is 8 times the number of cups. This is number of cups. Or you could say this is equal to C. So I can see right away it's here, but let's just keep going with the numbers. So $10 for 8 ounces. Each ounce makes 2 cups. So if I multiply them together, 8 ounces is going to make 16 cups. So 16 cups is going to cost $10. So how much is it? How much would it cost to do 1 cup of coffee? It's kind of duh. But then you reduce this, it's going to be 5/8, okay? To make 1 cup of coffee. So that's 1 cup of coffee is going to be 5/8. I know it doesn't make any sense, but that's what it costs. Now just put the numbers back in. So if D, I picked D as the dollars is 10. So 10 over, I said 2 for C, and we're going to get 10/16, which is the same as this. So we're good to go. All right, you could, it's the only way I can think to do it is to pick numbers or just to think common sense, but that's that one. Okay, next board. All right, if 10 over A equals B over 12, what's the value of AB? So cross multiply 120 equals AB. Ah, there we go. That's it. You know how cross multiplying works. You go that way, and then you go that way, and you set them equal to each other. In the sequence above, each term after the first term is 1/5 of the preceding term preceding it. What's the 5th term of the sequence? Well, this is the first term. This is the second. This is the third. Okay, so we need 2 more. We need him and him. So you just take the preceding. Now you can see what we did here. 1/5 of 150 is 30. 1/5 of 30 is 6. So we just take 6 times 1/5, and we're going to get 6/5. That's the 4th term. And then you take that times 1/5, and you get 6 over 25, and that would be your 5th term. Not too bad. All right. Hoping I have all of these loaded up. Okay, 5 points A, B, C, D, E lie on a line, not necessarily in that order. AB has the length of 24, C is the midpoint of AB, D is the midpoint of AC. If the distance between D and E is 5, what is one possible distance between A and E? All right, so what I did was I just drew a line. We know that between A and B is 24. Oops, it's a bad B. And let me just put that in, that's 24. And then we know that C is the midpoint. So if we know that, then we know that this distance is 12, right? And this distance is 12. And then it says D is the midpoint of AC, so we'll put a D in here. There's D. So we know that this is 6 and this is 6. Getting kind of messy here. And if the distance between D, did I put D? Here's D. Oh, it's down there. This is D. I'll just put that in again so we can read it better. D and E is 5. So that means E has to be either here or E has to be here. So if this distance from here to here is 6, that means that this has to be 1, because 1 plus 5 would give us the 6. Or we could have, if this is 6 plus 5, this is going to be 11. So the distance is either going to be, distance between A and E is 1 or 11. Because we're going from A to E, sorry. We're going from A to E. So this distance is going to be 1, or from A to E it's going to be 11. All right, so you have 2 answers, it's 1 or 11. All right, slide this down. What is the greatest of 5 consecutive integers if the sum of the integers equals 185? Well, you can either try to pick consecutive integers and just say, okay, let's try 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, or something like that. That'll take you some time. Or you could use a formula. If you're talking consecutive integers, you know that x is equal to the first consecutive integer Consecutive integers, you're just adding 1 to each time. So this is going to be the second. X plus 2 is the third. X plus 2 is the third. X plus 3 is the fourth. X plus 4 is the fifth. So we're talking third, fourth, and fifth. Consecutive integer problems are fairly popular problems, so make sure you know how to do them. This is the first, then you're just adding 1. Now, they said, what is the greatest if the sum, so let's add all these up. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 x's, and then we add our numbers up, which is going to equal 10. Let's see, 3 plus 3 is 6 plus 4 is 10, and it tells us it equals 185. So there's a trick in this problem. So you get 5x equals 175, and we're going to get x equals 35. Don't get all excited and circle that answer, because it says, what is the greatest? So we have to add 4 to this, and we're going to get 39. So the answer is, this would be 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. So the answer is 39. All right. Let's see if I can get back to the top. Okay. Salesman's monthly gross pay. There's actually a lot of algebra in this, which makes it easy for some people and harder for others. A salesman's monthly gross pay consists of $1,200 plus 20% of the dollar amount of his sales. If his gross pay was $2,500, what was the dollar amount of his sales for the month? Okay, so he's starting out, he's making $1,200 a month, plus he's making 20% of that amount, plus 20% of the dollar amount of his sales. So we have to take 0.2 times 1,200, because that's 20% of his sales. And then we add, that equals 2,500. We solve this guy, so we get, we're going to subtract, we're going to get, oops, never mind, this isn't 1,200. We don't even have a variable in there. We don't know his sales, so it's 20% of the dollar amount of his sales. Okay. Yeah, that was bad. We didn't have a variable in it. So it's 1,200, that's kind of his base pay, plus he gets 20% of whatever he sells, and that equals that. All right, so we're going to get 0.2x equals 1,300. Use your calculator, you're going to get x equals $6,500. If you get a number less than 1,200, you probably did something wrong. There you go. Okay. All right. Next type of problem. Naomi makes silver jewelry. For one style of earring, she cuts wedges from a silver disc, as shown in the figure above. Each wedge makes a 40-degree angle at the center of the disc. If the weight of each uncut disc is a uniformly distributed 2.5 grams, how many grams does each wedge weigh? All right, so they're telling us the weight of this entire thing, including without the wedge on it, taken out, is 2.5. We need to figure out what fractional part the wedge is. So the fractional part is, there's 360 degrees in a circle, so the fractional part is 40 out of 360, which is 1/9. So the wedge is 1/9 of the total circle. So it's just going to be 2.5 times 1/9. Just put that in your calculator, decimals mixed with fractions, it all kind of works out for you. You could put it in your calculator like this, 2.5 times 1/9. You have to put it in parentheses or else it'll do the multiplication. It won't really matter actually for this one. Okay, so you're going to get, in your calculator, you're going to get 0.27777, I think. When you go to put it in the grid, just write it like that. Don't round it off. Don't do this. Don't do that. 0.27. That'll be wrong. You can do 0.28 though. But it's best just not to round. Just put everything that you see in your calculator in. All right, last page of this test. If I can get to it. Oh, there it is. Okay. Oh, there's 4 on this one now. All right. If x squared minus y squared equals 10 and x plus y equals 5, what is the value of x minus y? We've seen these before, so this should help you. We factor the difference of two squares. X squared minus y squared is the same as x plus y, x minus y. It equals 10. X plus y is going to be This is going to be 5. So we know that 5 times what gives you 10? It has to be 2. That's a very easy problem if you just know to factor and substitute. They're asking for x minus y, so your answer is just 2. All right. We did this one in class too. I think we did all the rest in class. In the figure above, what is the area of the shaded figure of the square? So we need to find the side of the square right here. We're going to find that guy. Now we can do that. We know this is 90 because it's a square. We can kind of eyeball it and see that this is 1 and this is going to be 2. We're going to do the Pythagorean theorem. It's a right triangle, so we're going to get 2 squared. You can't figure out if it's like a 30, 60, 90 or 45, 45, 90. So we're going to use this, and we're going to get equals c squared. So we're going to get 4 plus 1, so we're going to get 5 equals c squared, and c equals root 5. So that's going to be one side. It's a square, so we can get that as all the sides, right? And the formula for area of a square is just side squared, or you can just think of it as the square root of 5 times the square root of 5. And so the area of the shaded region is simply 5. Yep. These problems aren't as bad as they look. It's always easier when you see it. Okay, we did this one in class too. For all positive integers j and k, let j symbol k be defined as a whole number remainder when j is divided by k. So if 13, the remainder of 13 divided by k is 2, what's k? Okay, this is a double problem. You got your remainder problem going on here, and you have a symbol. So it says j symbol k is the remainder. So here it's saying 13 symbol k, the remainder is 2. So we're having 13 divided by k, the remainder is going to be 2. So we figure out what k is. To get the divisor, you just subtract these two most of the time. It's just one little thing that might help you out. It might not always work, but most of the time it does work. So this is going to be 11. And we check it out. 1 times 11 is 11, and the remainder is 2. So your answer here is just 11. All right, the last one's a little complicated if you don't understand how averages work totally, but let's work through this. The average of test scores of a class of P students is 770. So you have a bunch of test scores up here. This is all the test scores added together. That's the total of all the test scores. So if you're figuring out your average for a class, a math class or whatever, you would take all your math scores. So you take like 83 plus 94 plus 50. You did a bad test, you divide it by 3, and that gives you your average. So all the test scores divided by P students is going to be 70. And we do the same thing. All the test scores, this is the total of them, divided by N students is 92. Now, we can figure out the total of all the scores. If you were doing your math test and you had something like this, let's say you got a 70 and an 80 and a 90 on a test, on your test scores. You would divide that by 3 and you would get your average as 80. We know the total of all these scores without even adding them up. If we know this, we know that 3 times 80, you know the total is going to be 270. This right here is always whatever this number is, how many tests there are times the average, gives you the total of all your test scores added up. So we know that the total of test scores added up is 70p. P times 70 is 70p, and this is going to be 92p. All right, I mean n, because we have the n down there. All right, now, when the scores of both classes are combined, so we're going to add all the total would be 70p, plus all the total of the n students, so that would be 92n. How many students are there? Well, there's P students in that class and there are N students in that class. We know the average is 86. So that part's hard enough on its own. Now we have to solve the equation. You have to cross multiply. I'm going to multiply both sides by P plus N, and that crosses out if I do it over here, not to confuse you. So you get 70p plus 92n equals 86p plus 86n. Let's subtract the n's from both sides. So we're going to get, hold on a second. Got a cord stuck here. Okay, I'm going to subtract, one sec, I lost my pen. Okay, I'm going to subtract, oops, I still lost my pen. There it is. All right, let's subtract, let's see, let's just subtract 86n from both sides. And let's subtract 70p from this side. Let's see if we can do this all in one sweeping motion here. So that's gone. So we're going to get 6n. This one takes a lot of space, doesn't it? Equals 16p. Like that. And we want, this is the third part of this problem, we want p over n. So I'm going to leave this p up here. I'm going to divide this by n. Right? So now we got to get rid of this. So I'm going to divide this by 16. All right. So p over n equals 6 over 16, which has to be reduced for it to be correct. So the answer is 3 over 8. That was more than 30 seconds. Yeah, whoever said that lied about that one. Okay, that is it for section 3 of test 8.